Our next installment will be Persia, how I gear them. I'm very, very happy with how I have Persia geared. The only civilization I'm not the best thrilled on is my Egyptians, but I don't use Egypt much, so I guess that's why. We're going to start with the Spara. We all know that the Spara can take huge amount of damage over and over and over again. His DPS is garbage, but that's not his job. His job is to take abuse. So I put health on him a lot. I decided to make it so he could take a lot of abuse, so that's why I do have Ramses on there. You could, if you want to increase it more, put Greaves on there. He'll become extremely slow if you do, but he will be a lot stronger with the health increase. But I prefer Ramses. The damage, 11% on him isn't much. It's not much because he doesn't start with much. My Spearman, I use the Crete Spear. I think it has overall the best damage, cavalry armor, and then cavalry bonus damage combo in the game. I think I'm still right on that. I know Summer Patch brought some new gear, so I'm not 100% sure. And then what you have is the armor is, of course, cavalry armor. And for my Spearmen, because they are so cheap to make and whatnot, I just make it so they can see a little farther. If I do run into a map now that they need a little more boost of power, I will swap them out with something else. I could put the Ramses in there if I really am wanting to, but for my starting out, this is how I have had them, and I've played Legend Soli with them with this gear, and I left the helmet and I won. So Immortals, I want to make clear, is a very strong unit. They aren't the best range, but because they can shoot arrows and then hit the unit with the sword, it makes them a good combination unit. And they're one population now. So the swords and means on them, I find it's the best sword in the game. That extra armor does help a lot. I put legend arrows on there for range because his range is so short anyway. I want to be able to have him hit the enemy once and then have enough time to be ready to use a sword, because even though he's not reloading, there is a delay between using your bow and then using your sword, so you want to get the shot off and then be able to be ready by the time the infantry or the cavalry are on top of you. And then I go with cavalry armor. So what you have here is you have infantry armor bonus, extra range, and cavalry armor bonus. I like to make this unit quick. Put anything on this unit that you like. The only thing I would not put on this unit is the Greaves. You do not want to slow him down too much. Now for the Bowmen and the Takabara, you have the same concept for both. They're a great mix and match for Legend Soli. I like about 130 Bowmen to 50 Takabara with this exact same gear, and they do very well. And what I go is with range. So with the bow, I have great range, and Archer's Bane is not the best for range anymore. There's a 40% damage, 25% range, and line of sight javelin out there. If you can get your hands on it, use it for your Takabara. It'll be very beneficial to you because you can drop the helmets completely then if you mix and match, because the added line of sight for the Takabara will be so much, the helmets wouldn't be needed, and you could just put anything you want on there for it to work. As I said, it doesn't have to be gauntlets to make them stronger, because they already are strong enough. I did put range arrows on. Now, I do use the Ajax Heavy War shield for them instead of a different shield, because it has the piercing armor, which is key for them, so they can take hits from towers and other ragged units. I do have DPS tunic for them, but I do not for them. I strictly make sure that they have that piercing armor so that they are strong enough to take some hits. And then I have the helmets. I normally do run with just solid bowmen, so that helmet does give me that extra line of sight that I do need so I can shoot my max range of 43. So if you are running just bowmen, you should have a helmet on. Be strong enough, especially in a co-op match, so that helmet will give you the extra line of sight you need, so you don't have to worry about having a different unit out there to give you that line of sight. Your scout, this is the gear that all scouts should have besides Egypt. This sword is second best, 16 is the best. This is the second best Gorget at level 25. Your goal here is level 20 and up. You do not need Lens of Means, don't buy it, it's a waste of your money. This setup here that I have will cost you 30 to 50k at most. Depending on the market, this setup here will only cost you between 30 and 50k, and you have just as much line of sight. Excuse me, you have more line of sight than you do with the Lens of Means, and you save yourself a crap load of money. So don't buy it. It's worthless when it comes down to how to spend your money. Okay, for cavalry, I need to switch out this shield. I have the shield on my Egyptians, which I need to send over. I just forgot to do that before the video. I'm going to do that now and then restart the video so I can show you which one I use. Okay, I'm back. I decided not to switch it out. I thought about it and I decided this is not better, and so I'm going to keep it the same. Sorry about that. So what I'm going to use is the Swords of Means, and what I have here is the Spartan Shield for 7.9 health and 7.9 damage. I was going to put this shield on because a lot of times I have problems with them, with cavalry killing them, but I just don't know. So I'm kind of on the fence on what shield to use with this cavalry. I mean, this shield that I have on is 8% health and damage, which is good. Then you have the Rostam that you could use, which is good also. Then you have this shield, which is good in a different way. So that one's kind of difficult for me because this unit for Persia is not the strongest unit. So I think I'm just going to stay with health instead of adding any extra armor, and because I want the health and the damage. So I don't know, maybe this shield's better, maybe not. A little bit of confusion, and I do apologize about that. The horse armor, Saragon for 16% more pierce armor, and then for them I do use a level 32 gauntlet. Your horse archers are the strongest anti-cavalry you have. They are stronger than your pikemen by a significant amount, I think. With the right bow, they can be effective against infantry also. You got to put some range on them. You'll always see me using Saragon. I like the pierce armor, and these guys I make cheaper. The 7% will do just fine. I just like to crank these guys out as fast as possible. Now your Cataphracts, on the other hand, is a tank on horseback. He really is. Now, I might be changing this gear. I don't know. I'm debating it. I want to look at all new legendary spears and all new spears out there. And I might be putting a spear on that gives him more health, because now that critical has changed. Because it doesn't work ×3 anymore. I might find a spear out there that has more hit points instead of critical hit, as long as I don't lose too much in damage, because I don't want to have more hit points and 61 damage. That wouldn't work for me. But for now, this is the spear that I use. And then of course Aragon, and then Greaves, because as I said, he is a tank on horseback. Rams, all my Rams, I try to get speed gear on them, so that's the goal. Movement speed, movement speed. This item is bound to your city, so why don't you use it? There we go. So the Rams, when I do use them, they're quick. Okay, now your war wagon, there's 2 ways of using a war wagon. There's 3 ways, and none of them are good. One, you can use them as a tank and put hit point stuff on them, like the hit point bow adds 12% more, hit point completely for plates, and you wouldn't put hit point arrows on, but you could put something else on there for the arrows. And then for your wheels, you would put heavy cedar beams, because they add hit points. And then you would just replace them as they die. Beaver Cleaver uses them as a tank. I don't know his exact gear layout, but I know he uses them tanky. The other 2 ways, one is pure damage, where you put in stuff like this bow, God, I don't know if you would want to get rid of some range. You think you would need some range, so you'd want to put the bow that I have for the horse archer, plus the range bow, plus the plates, and then plus the wheels. See, I have the DPS set up where it's just purely power, and that's how I go. It used to be, and I have a video out on it, where they would be high enough DPS where I'd have nothing but range gear on here, and including the range bow that I have bound over here, but doesn't go on any unit because it doesn't work anymore. You don't get enough power. Now, I don't have the best bow on there. I should get, this bow or the legend bow with range, not the critical, but you're going to have pretty much one of 2 choices. If you do decide to be that one person and go the 3rd way and go pure range, you're going to be very disappointed, and you're going to get killed so easily. So it matters on how you want to play it. Your pals, because the range is so great now, I use the range armor, heavy cedar beams, because I don't make mini paladins. If I really wanted to, I could swap out wheel for there, but when I use pals, it's only maybe 5 of them, so I don't mind paying a little extra, and I have enough DPS here in the siege arm now. But if I really want DPS, I just move the wheels down. I just don't feel like spending any money right now to purchase another wheel to replace heavy cedar beams. But I suggest everybody to replace their siege arms with legendary, because now with Teemo on it and the range from your plates and then the range upgrade, you already have enough range. You don't 14% from the Titan arm anymore. Your galleys, as you've seen before in my other civilizations, if you've checked them, I don't use galleys. I don't like galleys. I just think they're garbage. So I just put the best DPS stuff I can find on them with a little bit of range, and the Hull Leviathan is better, but it's 35k right now. Could go up, could go down. The love of a ram ship. When Persia first came out and I was making a video to show people how ram ships work and how good they are in Legendary Pirates, I made sure I got the 3 best things that I could with the best advisors, which of course is the ram head, the bonus to buildings. I know you might not think is worth it, but taking out the docks as fast as possible is a bonus in that map. And then crush armor for all ships. This is what you really want, is that crush armor to stop the catapult streams from beating you up. And this is key. Don't get Hull Leviathan. Don't get any of that. You need speed for your ships, because unlike all the other ships in the game, this one has to be on top of the unit to kill it, and if you're not, you're going to get destroyed if you don't get there in a significant amount of time. So I suggest everybody gets ores at very least. If you don't want to get the ram head, if you want to get a ram head that has speed on it, that could do you very well too. But the sad thing is that the rams were nerfed once because they were too strong. They could attack other things like units, so they nerfed it so you couldn't attack the treasure guardians anymore. And then they got nerfed yet again with the summer patch. So the love of my ram ship has pretty much sunk because they cannot do legend pirates now. They will get decimated. I mean, they might be useful in a skirmish map, but not a legendary map. My priest is not a unit I use often. I have the prayer beads to make them cheaper. Sandals would probably be best, or something to make them cost less or train faster. I make sure they have protection from piercing and then bonus damage protection. And for him, I added maximum range. He gives a little, doesn't give a lot of damage, but it gives a good amount, and then plus convert infantry. When it comes to fishing ships, I do the Nets of the Moon. You want Hades arrows if you can get your hands on them. You can put whatever on there that you feel like. This is craftable armor for speed. There's one other out there, I don't know if it's craftable, but it has 4 point something. You can check my Celtic Empire for that one. And then sails, so they're quicker, is not the best option. The best option is on my Greek and is on my Egyptian boats. It just makes them cost less, but you lose damage and health points, but it's a fishing ship. But if you can't afford that, sails are second best. Caravan, you're going to go speed gear. This is the same gear I have on everything. If you are in my league, you can get a cap that will give you 7.1 speed but costs 225,000 coin. I don't like that, so I'm not going to use it. For transports, you want speed. Not many people trade with transports, so you go with pure speed gear. These are the Hades flaming arrows that I mentioned with the same siding, and then I only use blessed sails because I'm not going to spend the money for legendary ores on a transport. Now when it comes to their galley, I like to pretty much gear them all the same. Dino arm is the best, but if you can't get your hands on one of those, Titan's arm is fine at 14% range instead of 19, plus range for your runic armor. And I like to make them cost less. I'm willing to wait the 42% more time to build the 5 at most I normally make up for a map. We're coming to my buildings now. Sorry about that, I needed a drink. I'm getting parched. Coming to the buildings, you'll see is pretty much always geared the same in every civilization. These walls, oops, sorry about that. These walls and give less cost, and then of course the training manual is 7.1. On almost all buildings you're going to have these two combination on. The archery range, the same walls, but I have an Aries on there. Same walls, same manual. I'm just going to go down slowly so you can see that it's exactly the same until I get to the farms. I use iron wall joints on my farms because I do not want to pay 100 wood for my farms. I want to get them as cheap as possible. But I do not use legend wall joints because I don't want them to take forever to build. For my fortresses, I have two setups for Persia, and only Persia does this. The line of sight is tremendous with this setup. If you look at the range and the line of sight that it throws onto some of this, there's other arrows out there that give line of sight too. Like Pharaoh's gives 7.9. This is the best wall brace, and then of course Olympus. I don't want to go if I get line of sight. What I would do is change that arrow out for that, change those out for that, but I will keep the range because I find the range is quite useful for playing maps like Legend Soli, where if your wall gets hit, my fort can attack my whole wall at the base. To the guard towers, I'm glad that they were next. This is the bow I use on every guard tower, or at least try to. My Egyptians don't. These are the arrows that I use. You could use range arrows, or you could use the arrows that I have in my Greek civilization if you're lucky enough to get your hands on them. Titan walls, everybody uses. And I am the one that uses Kevith wall joints to build quicker. You could say, Stephen, why don't you use these wall joints? 11.5% compared to 18.4. Not much of a difference, but there is when you're building a lot of towers. And if you have a craftsman hammer or better for speed, for building, I suggest you get the legend wall joints. If you do not have a hammer with speed, then I suggest you not do it this way and get iron wall joints or blueprints. But if you can get speed in your hammer, I will use the same example that I've used on the other videos, is if you are playing Paphos and you need to build up 5-6 towers early on, with legend wall joints you can build the towers with just 14% more build time. And I'll even put money on it, you don't even need the build time, and you'll get the towers up cheaper before they ever attack you if you use your starting pikemen and your scout up there to slow them down a little bit. I never have a problem. If you look at my Paphos videos, even though they're ×2 speed, I have all my towers up that I need, and I'm doing other things before they ever attack me. So if you can get yourself a craftsman hammer or a better hammer with build time, get the legend wall joints, you'll get towers dirt cheap, especially with Age 3 Advisor. I think it's 65 wood and 60 something stone or something like that. It's really cheap. Houses are the same for every civilization besides the Celtic, which is a little different. I go for build speed. Lookouts are the same for everybody. Get the hand carved wall braces plus an epic or a legend lookout. And now we're back down to the two things that I use most on my buildings. I want to say use this instead of building it quicker so you can research the upgrades quicker. Town centers you can build one of two ways. You can build them to have a lot of hit points, or you can change out the bow and the armor and the armor. So you change out this bow and this wall for this wall, and the bow that gives you cheaper, you'll save, I want to say about 20, between 14 and 20 total of each resource. But for what I'm understanding is that that's about the range. But for me, I like to go pure hit points, because I'd rather my town center to be able to take damage instead of, 20 resources less doesn't take me long to get. But if my town center in Legend Pirates or a skirmish or an elite map, like a lot of newbies are playing the elites recaptures because they can't beat some of the legends yet, and if you get attacked early on, you want your town center to be able to take damage. If you decide to make it so that they are cheaper, if your town center gets hit, they're going to die. It's going to die quicker. But either setup is fine. Everybody agrees that the Ares manual is definitely 100% the way to go. But these are the three things that I use for mine for the best hit points in the game. The first and third slot are craftable. The second slot you have to find. Wonder, build speed and cost. And then my immortal camp is cheaper and train rate. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to ask on my YouTube page, or you can drop me a line on my page on the forum. I have no problem answering any questions that you would have. You have a good one.